Welcome back, YouTube. Kind of talking to you today, listeners. Appreciate you taking a look. Looks like again gaining some followers out there. Saw a lot of hits on my post on LinkedIn, and for listeners that aren't familiar with LinkedIn, it's one of those networking sites that is important to you as someone who intends to be searching out employment, is currently employed, because you never know when you're going to be looking for new employment. You should always keep yourself current, keep your profile out there so that people can see you. So LinkedIn, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, LinkedIn is essentially the Facebook of the professional world. It keeps individuals connected. That connection generally happens in a professional manner, but there's no reason why you cannot connect with your friends and other individuals that you are networking with on LinkedIn. I do that all the time. If I meet somebody at an event or it's part of an organization that I volunteer in, I will generally connect with those individuals on LinkedIn, because you never know when that connection is going to prove beneficial for you or them. And I'll give you an example. I was on the phone today with a past student, an alumni of mine, and that student is potentially looking at a career change. And I am still connected with contractors that I've worked with in the past. Now, I do have a vast network, but this one was a little bit more unique. It was an out-of-state type thing. So the student is looking for employment in one of the states that I've worked in previously. And what I was able to communicate was, listen, I'm still involved. I still have occasional LinkedIn connections through individuals at that company. And in this case, a vice president with that company. So it's very easy for me to reach out and make a connection for that student to see if there is a possibility for a career or some guidance in the career as that student looks to move to that particular area. Again, it doesn't have to be an out-of-state thing. Again, your network is unlimited, and it's unlimited in who you add into that. So that's kind of my 2 cents on kind of networking, and it just kind of spilled out of the fact that there were quite a few people looking at my post on LinkedIn, so I'm able to track that and see what's going on there. What I wanted to do is talk today more about what kind of got me into the educational piece, or my education leading into my career. And I had mentioned in a previous video about my just like for construction. When I was in high school, I didn't really have many options presented to me by my family. So I do come from a family of educators, which is interesting now that I'm in education. I never thought I would see myself there, but my parents, who had both gone through college, my mom has her master's degree and my father has his PhD, so education was very important. I really didn't have a choice. This was one of those things where they said, you're going to go to college and we want you to get a degree. In high school, construction interested me. I was very much interested in architecture, and architecture is it's a great industry. It's one of those where you do grow like with any career, but because it's design, you really have to carve out a niche for yourself. And I wanted to go to school for architecture. My parents kind of pointed me in a different direction. So I don't know if that's good or bad. It got me to where I am today. But I didn't have quite the guidance that I think students have today. So I have a child in college. I have a senior in high school. So career exploration through college and training and whatever your post-high school experience looks like, there's a lot of information out there. But sometimes I feel that people don't tap into the wealth of resources that are out there for potential students and what their options are. And it's literally limitless. And I do, I've told my kids is that, hey, if there's something that you like, there's a career for that, and there's training and education for that. So it doesn't matter what it is that you're interested in, it's there. You just have to go find it. So that being said, through high school, I was one of those things where, okay, go into architecture. Mom and dad said, you may want to take a look at something else. So I ended up applying and getting admitted to UW-Platteville's civil engineering program. Now, I had applied at several other institutions. I was looking at business, I was looking at engineering, and Platteville was one that I had chosen. I'm not going to tell you that this is the way to do it, but it worked out well for me. I actually attended UW-Platteville because one of my best friends from high school was going there, and we had intended on rooming together. So it was kind of a nice carryover from high school. It made it feel a little bit comfortable. Never visited the campus, so I wasn't to the campus until I registered for classes, so I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into. But as a engineering student, they basically looked at your high school transcripts, what you needed, and I was placed into classes that was on the engineering track. Well, got through the first semester. It was a little rough, some adjustments to college living, made it a little bit of a challenge for me, balancing out my social calendar and my academic calendar, but was very, minimally successful in things that I did. But I also found that there were things that I liked and didn't like about engineering. And I ended up talking with one of my friends on the floor of the dormitory that I lived with, and he was in this program called Building Construction Management. I'm like, tell me more. And at the end of that, as I was nearing the end of my second semester, I was very frustrated. The math classes, calculus was very challenging for me, and I really didn't want to continue with more extensive math and so on. And I felt that the construction management side of things was a good fit for me. Both it fit my personality. I had at this point realized that maybe design wasn't exactly where I needed to be. So kind of back things up a little bit. Between my senior year of college and my my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, I was able to work with a grading contractor and a mason, and I was essentially a laborer and a mason tender for these guys, and I really enjoyed what I did. It was hard work, but again, a lot of reward with that. I learned a lot from these guys over the course of the summer, and it was kind of a unique circumstance. My family has some lake property up in northern Wisconsin, and we were able to, I worked for the contractor that was doing the work on the house. It was a very cool experience. We actually not raised in demolition, but actually picked up the house, pulled the foundation and everything out of it, and installed a new basement underneath it. So that was kind of the course of my summer, was the demolition and removal of the footings, foundation, basement walls, and then pouring footings, laying block for the new basement that was going underneath the structure. So I thought this was pretty cool. I'm like, hey, you can actually lift the house up and put a new basement under. That's pretty incredible. So that was kind of my lead-in experience. Between my freshman and sophomore year of college, I decided to go to work for a general contractor up in the same area, and I worked for him as a laborer. I didn't have any experience other than the summer before in construction. So started out doing a lot of menial work, and as I grew over the course of the summer, was given more responsibility, being able to do more skillful tasks as the summer went on. It really gained a lot of experience in my carpentry, and between that and just the struggles of the engineering program, landed me in building construction management that sophomore year of college. And from there, everything grew, and I enjoyed the coursework that I was taking. I was learning about different building materials, how to estimate, how to schedule. I still got my design element. We had a full semester design class. There was a lab class that we did take where we actually did construction work, and because of my experience, I was able to be a project manager on those projects. And in fact, our crew had remodeled a basement for a resident in Platteville, and once that project was over, I was able to take on some extra work, and we did some work for University Housing. building shelters around the campus. And you never know where things are going to lead. After that semester, then University Housing was interested in hiring me to come back and construct additional shelters with another classmate of mine who was already working for housing. And the two of us were able to work together and just continue that work. And what was beneficial for me was I was the only one on the crew other than my classmate that knew how to lay out hip rafters, and it was a hip rafter structure, so a little bit more complex from a framing perspective. And boy, I'll tell you, again, the things that you learn and where it takes you make it really exciting. And it was kind of cool. We took our son for a visit at Platteville. I was looking at going to school there, and I was able to say, hey, I built this, I did this. I could show him the shelters that I built. There was a daycare that I built all the cabinetry for. I have something that I've done that's still standing on that campus 25 years later, which is, again, it's one of those things where the construction industry, you have this tangible thing that you can show people and you can be proud of. So sometimes it's not the big things, it's the little things. And so that's kind of my way through college. I was actually looking to drop out of school after that whole experience with engineering, and I have to credit it to my father for saying, no, you're not quitting, you're going to stick this out, you're committed to it, and you're going to finish it. And of course, obviously, the educational piece was something that was important to him and my mother, and I did finish. So those of you who are thinking, oh, I could drop out of school, or I could job out and work in industry and make good money, because in today's environment, there's a lot of good money to be had in the trades. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to the trades, but if you are looking to get a degree post high school, when you're in that frame of mind, when you're in that school mode, I'm going to recommend to you to just stick it out. Anything that you do in life, once you've committed to it, you want to finish it. And this was one of those instances. It took me 5 years to get through school. A lot of that had to do with some retake of coursework due to the rigor of my freshman year. And also changing majors, and spent 5 years at UW Platteville, and then was fully employed by spring break of that last year, my 5th year there. So I already had my job lined up, and I was ready to go for graduation, so things were all set for me. And again, career took off from there. So that's kind of my experience in a small nutshell. But my advice to anybody who's listening is you need to find what you're excited about. Get involved in it. There's a career path for you. There's a program that's going to teach you that, whether it's an apprenticeship, an associate degree, a technical diploma, a bachelor's degree, whatever that is, there is something there for you that's going to help you get there, but you need to be passionate about it, and you need to complete it. You really need to stay on course and don't give up even when things seem to be challenging. I promise you there will be rewards at the end of that completion. So that's kind of where I was at. Hope this made sense. Again, if you've got questions or comments, or please leave them below in the video, and I will try and respond to those and kind of maybe help you with your concerns, or if you've got something to add, I'll definitely be willing to listen to your comments. So thanks much.